You have been walking with others for so long that you have forgotten how to hear your own footsteps. You follow their laughter, their pain, their goals, and call it life. But deep down, none of it belongs to you. The courage to walk alone is not about leaving others. It is about finding yourself. And once you hear your own footsteps again, even silence becomes your companion. In this talk, I will show you how to transform the fear of aloneness into the power of awareness. You will learn why walking alone does not mean isolation, it means independence of soul. I will take you through the layers of conditioning that make you cling to people, ideas, and identities that are not yours. And as each illusion falls away, you will see that being alone is not the absence of love, but the presence of truth. This is not a lesson about separation, it is an invitation into inner wholeness. I know the world has taught you to fear solitude. From childhood, they told you to fit in, to belong, to be liked, to never stand apart. You learn to perform instead of feel, to agree instead of know. And when you are alone, you feel lost, as if something essential is missing. But what if being alone is not a wound? What if it is the medicine? What if this very space, the silence you avoid, is where life begins to speak to you directly? In this journey, I am not asking you to reject others. I am asking you to meet yourself so deeply that whether you walk with 10,000 people or none, you remain complete. In this talk, I will explore the mystery and power of walking alone, not as an act of defiance, but as the flowering of freedom. We will see why dependence creates suffering, how the crowd steals your individuality, and why true connection only becomes possible after solitude. I will show you how to turn loneliness into meditation, silence into nourishment, and aloneness into love. And somewhere in this hour, perhaps you will feel the gentle pull of your own being, the one that has always been waiting for you beneath all the noise. Stay with me until the end, and you will not only understand why you don't need them, you will know why you never did. You see, people live surrounded by others, yet deep down they remain strangers to themselves. From the moment you are born, you are told that to belong is to survive, that to stand apart is dangerous. So you grow up learning to smile when you don't feel joy, to agree when your heart whispers no, to keep walking with the crowd even when every step feels wrong. You become a part of the noise and you forget the taste of silence. Here's something most people completely miss. They think togetherness means connection. But most of the time, what they call love, friendship, or family is only a pact between fears. Two frightened people holding each other so they don't have to face their own emptiness. You say, but Osho, isn't love about being with others? Yes. But first you must know how to be with yourself. Otherwise, what you call love is only an escape. It's like two beggars asking each other for bread, both hungry, both empty, neither able to give. That is not love. That is fear disguised as togetherness. The crowd becomes a comfort, a drug. Surrounded by others, you feel less responsible for your own misery. You think, at least I am not alone in my confusion. And so you cling to people, to groups, to beliefs, anything that keeps you from hearing your own heartbeat in the dark. Why do you think crowds exist? Why do you think every religion, every ideology, Every movement gathers so many lost souls. Because being in a crowd gives you a false sense of safety. You disappear in the mass, and the fear of yourself disappears with it. But safety is not peace. Comfort is not fulfillment. When you are part of a crowd, you are no longer an individual, you are only a reflection of others. You laugh because they laugh. You cry because they cry. You believe because they believe. You've traded your soul for approval and you call it belonging. What I am saying might sound harsh, but listen carefully. I am not against togetherness. I am against false togetherness. Real togetherness can only exist when two individuals meet out of wholeness, not out of need. When I am alone and you are alone, and both of us are complete within ourselves, then our meeting becomes sacred. It is not a bargain, it is a celebration. But when I depend on you to fill my emptiness, or you depend on me to define your worth, then we are not lovers, we are prisoners sharing the same cell. Let me tell you a small story. Once, a man was running across a field, terrified of his own shadow. No matter how fast he ran, it kept following him. Exhausted and trembling, he collapsed under a tree and finally stopped. And in that moment of stillness, the shadow vanished. The man laughed and said, it was never chasing me, I was the one running. So it is with your loneliness. You think it's chasing you, but it only exists because you keep running from yourself. Stand still and it disappears. The first step toward freedom is to see how much of your so-called love is fear in disguise. When you are afraid to be alone, you'll do anything to stay attached. You'll compromise truth, suppress your soul, and wear masks just to remain accepted. But remember, anything built on fear will collapse. The crowd may protect you for a moment, but it will also bury you under its weight. You can only breathe again when you dare to step out. And once you take that step, something miraculous begins. You start to sense that your loneliness was never your enemy, it was a messenger calling you home. The pain you felt was not punishment, it was life inviting you inward. But few listen. They run back to the noise, thinking silence will destroy them. Yet the truth is the opposite. Silence is what saves you. So pause with me here. Feel this moment without reaching for anyone, without thinking of who might agree or disagree. Just feel yourself as you are. In this stillness, in this simple awareness, you begin to see that you were never missing people, you were missing yourself. And once you see that your loneliness is not an enemy, the real journey begins. Because now you are ready to meet the one person you have always avoided yourself. When you begin to sit with yourself without the distractions of the crowd, something extraordinary starts to unfold. A quietness, a spaciousness, a lightness you had forgotten existed. At first, it feels strange, even uncomfortable, because for the first time you are meeting yourself without masks, without movement, without escape. The mind trembles, it becomes restless. It says, this silence is dangerous, it feels like death. But what dies in that silence is not you, it is your false self. The one that was built by others, the one that existed only through comparison, through imitation, through dependence. And as that false layer dissolves, what remains is a presence so alive, so full, that you realize aloneness is not emptiness, it is overflowing completeness. People misunderstand aloneness because they have never truly entered it. They have tasted loneliness, yes, and it has made them bitter. It has made them desperate for connection, for distraction, for noise. But loneliness and aloneness are two different words. Loneliness is the absence of the other. Aloneness is the presence of yourself. Loneliness is a wound. Aloneness is a healing. Loneliness cries for company. Aloneness celebrates in solitude. When you are lonely, you wait for someone to arrive and fill your emptiness. But when you are alone, you realize there is nothing missing. You are the arrival. You are the guest and the host. You are the temple and the worshipper. I have always said that in aloneness, you stop seeking approval because you begin to hear your own truth for the first time. And that truth has a fragrance that no crowd can give you. When you no longer look outside for validation, you discover an inner authority, not of power, not of domination, but of deep knowing. You act not because someone tells you to, but because life moves through you naturally. Then every gesture becomes grace, every silence becomes song. You start to notice small things, the wind touching your face, the rustle of leaves, the rhythm of your breath. Life is no longer a goal to reach. It becomes a dance to enjoy. And you see, the mind fears this emptiness because it cannot control it. The mind only knows how to measure, how to label, how to fill. It cannot understand that something can be full precisely because it is empty. But the heart knows. The heart has always known. When you fall into the heart, when you let go of all seeking, you realize that this very emptiness is peace. It is not something to get rid of. It is something to rest in. It is the background of all existence. The stillness in which every sound, every thought, every life arises and disappears. To resist this emptiness is to resist life itself. And it is in this emptiness, in this aloneness, that creativity is born. All great art, all great insight, all true love arises when a person has become comfortable with their own solitude. Think of the seed buried in the dark, alone in the soil. For a time, it looks like death, like nothing is happening. But in that darkness, the miracle begins. The seed cracks open, the roots form, the first green shoot pushes toward the light. Without that period of aloneness, there can be no blooming. You, too, are like that seed. Until you learn to rest in the darkness of yourself, your light cannot grow. Every awakened being has walked this path. Buddha under the Bodhi tree, Jesus in the desert, Lao Tzu wandering alone through the mountains, all entered their own solitude and emerged with light in their eyes. They discovered that to be alone is to be one with existence. Because in aloneness, you are no longer separate from the trees, the rivers, the stars. You are part of the same rhythm. You realize that even when there is no one beside you, life itself is holding your hand. But you cannot reach this beauty by force. You must allow it. The way you allow sleep to come gently without demand. Sit silently, listen to your breath, and let the noises of the world fade like echoes in a faraway valley. Slowly, a different sound appears, the sound of your own being. It is not a sound that the ears can hear, but the heart can feel it. The whole body can vibrate with it. It is the hum of existence moving through you. And once you have felt it, even for a moment, you will never again feel truly alone. And yet, something even more mysterious happens when you fall in love with your aloneness. You start to love others for the first time. Because now, you do not need them to complete you. You share with them from your fullness. You are not asking for something. You are giving. You are not holding on. You are letting go. This is the paradox. The more alone you are, the more capable you become of love. Before, your love was a transaction. I give you affection, so you will give me security. But now, it becomes a fragrance of your being. You love because you cannot help it. Just as a flower cannot help releasing its perfume. So remember this. Aloneness is not a curse. It is a blessing. It is the door to freedom, the foundation of love, the source of creativity. Once you have learned to be alone, you can walk through the world like a king, not because you rule others, but because you no longer need to. You are rich within yourself, and yet, once you taste this beauty, something paradoxical happens. You begin to love others for the first time, not out of need, but out of overflow. There comes a moment in every life when the sweetness of company begins to taste bitter, when the comfort of being understood starts to feel like a cage, when love, the same love that once made you feel alive, begins to suffocate you. You may not even notice it at first. It happens slowly, quietly, like dust settling on a mirror, until you can no longer see your own reflection. You start depending on others for your peace, for your happiness, for your worth. You begin to believe that without them, you will fall apart. But this is the great misunderstanding. What you call love is often just emotional hunger, a longing to fill the emptiness that you have never dared to face. You say, I can't live without you. And you believe it to be romantic. But in truth, it is the language of addiction. You are addicted to the idea that someone else can complete you, that someone else can give meaning to your life, but no one can. Most relationships are born not from wholeness but from hunger. Two incomplete beings meet, each hoping the other will heal their wound. For a moment, it seems to work. You feel lighter, more joyful, more alive. You call it love, but it is only relief, the temporary silence of your inner pain. Soon the silence ends and the same emptiness returns. Now mixed with resentment, you begin to blame the other for not giving you enough, for not understanding you enough, for not loving you the way you expected. And they do the same. The love that once felt like liberation becomes a burden, a chain. This is the tragedy of dependence. It begins with desire and ends in disappointment. You cannot fill a bottomless pit with someone else's presence. You can only fill it with awareness. When you depend on someone to complete you, you are not in love, you are in bondage. And when you depend on someone to make you feel worthy, you give them the power to destroy you. It is as if you hand over the keys to your own heart and say, please take care of my happiness, and then wonder why you feel trapped. The truth is simple. No one can carry your soul for you. No one can give you the peace that comes only from knowing yourself. You can lean on someone for a while, yes, but if you forget how to stand alone, even the sweetest support will turn sour. Dependency breeds resentment because it cannot sustain joy. When you love from a place of need, you are not loving the person, you are loving what they give you. And the moment they stop giving it, the love turns into anger. You will notice how quickly I love you becomes you don't care about me when expectations go unmet. This is not love. This is a transaction disguised as intimacy. Love without awareness always turns into possession. You want the other person to stay, to behave, to think the way you need them to, because you are terrified that if they change, your sense of security will vanish. So you control, you demand, you plead. But remember, control kills love. Only freedom can sustain it. I once told a story of a beggar who spent his life outside the palace gates, asking the king for gold. Every morning he would shout, "Your Majesty, just one coin, and I will be satisfied." The king, amused by his persistence, finally invited him in. As the beggar entered, he looked around and realized the floors beneath his feet were made of gold, the walls covered in jewels. He laughed and said, "All my life I was begging outside a palace that was already mine." The same is true for you. You keep begging for love from others when the treasure lies within you. You seek recognition, comfort, validation, but the king you are begging from is your own consciousness. When you come to me empty, you are full. When you come full of need, you remain empty. This is why the path from dependence to freedom is not a path of rejection, it is a path of remembering. You are not asked to abandon others, but to stop abandoning yourself. You are not told to stop loving, but to start loving without chains. When you know how to be alone, your relationships transform. You no longer cling, you no longer beg, you no longer fear loss, because you realize nothing can be lost that is truly yours. What you share now is not need, it is overflow. You are so full of love that you can give endlessly without running dry. That is real love. It is not a bargain, not a compromise, but a celebration. Freedom begins where dependence ends. But freedom is not the coldness of indifference. It is not isolation. It is not pride. Freedom means your heart is open but not needy. Your love flows, but it does not bind. You give without expecting. You receive without demanding. It is a love that is alive even when the other is absent. A love that expands instead of shrinks. Such freedom frightens most people because they cannot control it. The world has taught you that love must be exclusive, possessive, constant, but the love born from freedom cannot be caged. It has wings, and yes, sometimes it flies away, but it never leaves you empty, because it never belonged to you, it passed through you. I know, to live like this seems impossible. The mind says, if I don't depend, I will be alone forever. No, when you stop depending, you start relating for the first time. You see the other not as an object to satisfy your needs, but as another mystery of existence, as another reflection of the same truth that lives within you. Then even a brief meeting, even a passing smile becomes sacred. You don't need to possess someone to love them. You simply allow them to be as you allow yourself to be. So let this be understood deeply. Dependence is fear, and fear can never love. Only freedom knows how to love. Freedom brings a love that the world has never taught you. A love that cannot be bought, cannot be lost, cannot be broken, because it comes from the only place it was ever meant to be found, within yourself. But even freedom, if misunderstood, can turn into a new kind of ego. So before you call yourself free, look closely and ask, is my freedom rooted in love or in pride? For even freedom can become another chain if you forget its source. And so, let us go deeper beyond even solitude into silence itself. When love arises from freedom, it is no longer a hunger. It is a fragrance, invisible, effortless, unclaimed. Most people have never known such love. They have known attachment, they have known desire, they have known possession, but they have not known love. Their love is like a contract, spoken or unspoken, full of hidden demands. I will love you if you stay the same. I will love you if you make me feel secure. I will love you if you never leave. But life never stays the same, and people are rivers, not stones. They flow, they change, they disappear, they return in new forms. To try to own love is to destroy its spirit. Real love cannot be owned, it can only be shared. When you no longer cling, when you no longer demand, when you are not afraid to lose, only then does love become pure, because it is born not from fear, but from fullness. You see, when you are free, your love becomes like the sun. It shines on everyone without asking for anything in return. It does not choose where to fall. It does not divide between worthy and unworthy. It simply gives, because that is its nature. The greatest gift you can give another is your aloneness, because that aloneness carries no need. It is clean, it is light, it is sacred. You do not love someone because you want something from them. You love because love has become your breathing. Then, even if no one stands beside you, you are still surrounded by love. Because love is no longer a relationship, it is your state of being. Let me tell you this in a simple way. Two candles stand in a dark room. Each burns with its own flame. They do not depend on each other for light. Yet together they illuminate more of the room. If one candle goes out, the other continues to burn. That is what love should be, two flames that share their light without trying to control the other's fire. When you love like this, there is closeness, but there is also space. There is connection, but there is also freedom. You can hold someone's hand without holding their soul. You can walk beside them without making them follow your path. This love does not say, "You are mine." It whispers, "You are free, and I rejoice in your freedom." Most people are terrified of this kind of love because they confuse freedom with distance. They think that if they do not possess, they will lose. But the truth is the opposite. The more you try to hold someone, the faster they slip away. Love is like a bird. It sings only when it's free. The moment you close your hands around it, the music stops. So let your love be a song. not a cage. Let it be a space where both can grow, where both can breathe, where both can laugh without fear. You see, the ego cannot understand this. The ego says, if I love you, you must love me back. If I give, I must receive. But love is not a business. It is not a trade. It is not something you do. It is something you become. When you are truly in love, you are not the doer. Love itself moves through you. You are simply a flute, and existence plays its song through your hollow being. That is why I tell you, become empty, and you will be filled with love. Become silent, and you will hear love's music everywhere. When love is free, it heals. It does not heal through effort, it heals through presence. When two beings meet in this freedom, their connection is like prayer. There is intimacy without fear, closeness without control, tenderness without expectation. You are not trying to fix each other. You are simply sharing the miracle of being alive together. You are mirrors, reflecting each other's light, yet never losing your own. And when such love happens, it transforms everything it touches. Your laughter becomes deeper. Your silences become sacred. Your very presence becomes medicine for those around you. I remember once, when I spoke of love, someone asked me, but if I love without possession, won't I be taken advantage of? I smiled and said, you cannot be taken advantage of if you expect nothing. You can only be taken advantage of when you have demands. When your love expects nothing, it cannot be wounded, it cannot be betrayed, it cannot be destroyed. You love because it is your joy to love, not because you hope to gain something from it. And in that giving, you receive more than you could ever imagine, because what you give returns to you multiplied through the very act of sharing. Love born of freedom is the greatest revolution. It overturns the old order of ownership and fear. It challenges the belief that happiness comes from another. It makes every relationship sacred because it removes the shadow of control. When you love freely, you are no longer dependent on anyone, and yet you are connected to everyone. You no longer seek one person to fill your emptiness. You see that every being, every tree, every star, every breath is a reflection of the same beloved. But beware, even freedom can become a new kind of bondage if the ego claims it. If you say, I am free and I need no one, you have simply built another prison made of pride instead of fear. True freedom has no arrogance. It is humble. It is soft. It is grateful. When you are truly free, you can walk into a crowd and remain untouched. You can love deeply and still be alone within. You can give yourself completely, knowing that nothing can be lost, because nothing ever belonged to you in the first place. This is love without chains, love that breathes, love that blesses, love that liberates. It is not the love the world has taught you, but the love existence has been whispering to you through every heartbeat, every sunrise, every tear. To live this love is to live as a blessing, not as a beggar. And when such love flowers in you, it becomes impossible to destroy, because it is not yours, it belongs to the whole. But even freedom can become pride if you forget its source. So let us go deeper beyond even solitude into silence itself. Because only in silence does love find its eternal home. When you stop running from yourself, when the noise of the world fades and the mind finally falls silent, something begins to awaken inside you, something ancient, something eternal. That silence you once feared as emptiness begins to reveal its true face. It is not dead, it is not cold, it is alive with presence, rich with meaning, vibrating with an invisible music that only the heart can hear. You realize that all along this silence has been waiting for you patiently, like a mother waiting for her child to return home. It never left you. You only kept walking away from it. And when you turn inward and allow it to envelop you, all your searching ends. For the first time, you are not trying to become anything. You simply are. The world has taught you to fill every moment with words, with noise, with movement. You have been taught to fear pauses, to feel uneasy in stillness. Silence has been portrayed as loneliness, as something to avoid, as something empty or meaningless. But I tell you, silence is not the absence of sound, it is the presence of awareness. It is the ocean from which every sound arises and to which it returns. When you sit quietly and listen deeply, you begin to hear the subtle rhythm behind all things, the hum of life itself, the whisper of the trees, the quiet breathing of existence. You start to realize that silence is not something outside of you. It is the very fabric of your being. The problem is that you have been taught to listen only with your ears. You listen to others, to words, to the world, but not to yourself. To hear silence, you must listen with your whole being. You must become so still that even your thoughts begin to slow until there is only awareness, pure, effortless awareness. And when that happens, you feel an immense peace, a peace that cannot be described because it does not belong to the mind. It is not an experience that comes and goes. It is your natural state, the background against which all experiences appear. In silence, there is no loneliness, because loneliness belongs to the mind. It comes from comparison, from measuring, from wanting to be somewhere else. In silence, there is no somewhere else. There is only here, only now. There is no you separate from existence. There is only being. You realize that even when you thought you were alone, you were surrounded by an infinite presence. The trees were breathing with you. The stars were shining for you. The earth was holding you. Existence has never left you for a single moment. You only stopped noticing. When you return to silence, you return to this great intimacy with life. To live in silence does not mean to withdraw from the world. It means to carry that stillness within you wherever you go. You can sit among thousands of people and still remain untouched, still rooted in your center. Then, whatever you do, speak, love, create, walk, it all comes from that silent core. Your words have weight, your actions have grace, because they are not coming from reaction but from awareness. That is the beauty of silence. It turns every act into meditation, every breath into prayer. Once I sat under a tree for many hours, doing nothing, saying nothing, simply being. At first, the mind resisted. It whispered, "You are wasting time." But I watched even that voice without judgment. Slowly, the noise subsided, and a stillness deeper than sleep arose. In that stillness, I felt the whole existence breathing with me, the wind moving through the leaves, the birds singing, the earth pulsing softly beneath my body. It was as if I was no longer a separate person sitting under a tree, but the tree itself, the sky itself, the silence itself. That moment never ended. It continues now, even as I speak. Silence is the source of all creativity. Every great idea, every work of art, every discovery has been born from the womb of silence. The mind can only rearrange what it already knows, but silence reveals what has never been known. In silence, you do not think, you see. You do not plan, you perceive. Insight comes like lightning from the sky, striking you with a clarity that the intellect could never reach. And the beauty is, the more you rest in silence, the more creative, loving, and alive you become. Because silence is not dull, it is radiant. It is not passive, it is potent. To find this silence, you need not go to the mountains or the caves. You can find it wherever you are, in your room, in your work, in your relationships. Just stop for a moment. Close your eyes. Let the world move as it will, but do not move with it. Let thoughts pass like clouds, but do not chase them. Remain as the sky vast, empty, untouched. Slowly, a gap will appear, a space between one thought and the next. That gap is the door to silence. Walk through it again and again until the gap becomes your home. And the miracle is, once you are comfortable in that silence, you stop feeling alone. The silence itself becomes your companion, not a companion who speaks, but one who understands without words. It holds you, nourishes you, strengthens you. You realize that you do not need anyone to fill your life, because life itself is filling you every moment. Silence becomes your friend, your lover, your teacher. From that friendship, all other relationships bloom naturally, not out of need, but out of abundance. And when you reach this depth of stillness, when walking alone no longer feels lonely, you discover a secret. You were never truly alone. The whole existence was walking with you. The sky, the wind, the stars, the earth, all have been waiting for you to slow down, to stop running, to notice. Now, in silence, you are finally home. When silence has ripened inside, when it is no longer something you enter but something you are, the final transformation begins, the realization that to walk alone is not to be separate, but to be one with all. This is the great paradox of existence. The moment you accept your aloneness completely, you are no longer alone. You dissolve into the whole. The wave realizes it is not separate from the ocean. The drop recognizes that it is the sea itself. When you walk alone with awareness, each step is in harmony with the universe. The stars move with you, the trees breathe with you, the rivers sing with you. You are no longer a stranger here, you have come home to existence. But to reach this state, you must first let go of every illusion of belonging that the world has given you. You must die to the idea that you are someone's son, someone's friend, someone's partner, someone's follower. All of these are just temporary garments you wear. They are roles you play in the theater of life, but beneath them, you are pure being, nameless, boundless, eternal. The courage to walk alone is the courage to stand naked in that truth, without the coverings of identity, without the comforts of approval. And yet, in that nakedness, there is immense beauty, because only then can you see how vast you truly are, how connected to everything you have always been. Look around you. Every flower blooms alone, yet it belongs to the garden. Every star burns alone, yet it belongs to the sky. Every bird flies alone through the air, yet the same wind carries them all. So it is with you. Your path is your own, your steps are your own, but the ground beneath you is shared by all of life. When you truly walk alone, you stop comparing paths. You stop asking, am I ahead or behind? You realize that there is no race, no destination, no other. There is only this unfolding moment, this eternal now. And in that now, you are both alone and one with all that is. When you are one with all, competition disappears. You no longer measure your worth against others, because you see that everyone is simply another expression of the same infinite energy. One person sings, another paints, another prays. All are waves of the same ocean, rising and falling in their own rhythm. How can one wave be higher or lower than another? How can one flower be more important than another in the garden of life? When you understand this, you stop striving to be special. You start celebrating the ordinary, because in the ordinary, the divine hides. To walk alone means to walk without comparison, without jealousy, without ambition. And in that humility, you find tremendous peace. The heart that has discovered its own fullness does not seek to be above others. It seeks to uplift others. You no longer need to compete. You begin to celebrate. Someone else's success becomes your joy. Someone else's beauty becomes your reflection. When you belong to yourself, you belong to the cosmos. You see that there is no mine or yours. Everything is ours. The trees, the birds, the stars, all are your companions. You may walk alone on the outside, but within you are surrounded by infinite company. And yet, the world may never understand this kind of solitude. They may call it detachment, indifference, even arrogance. But let them misunderstand. Truth has always been misunderstood by those who have not tasted it. When Buddha walked alone, they said he was cold. When Jesus withdrew to the desert, they said he had abandoned his people. But they were not escaping, they were returning. They were returning to the source that gives life to all. Walking alone means walking inward, not away. And when you reach your center, you discover that you are connected to everything, every being, every breath, every grain of sand. Once someone asked me, Osho, if I walk alone, won't I lose love? I said, no, you will lose only the illusion of love. You will lose attachment, dependency, the constant need for validation, but you will gain something far greater, you will gain love itself. When you no longer need anyone, you can love everyone. When you stop asking for attention, you start radiating presence. When you stop chasing belonging, you start belonging everywhere. This is what it means to walk alone and yet be one with all. You have transcended the boundaries of the small self and entered the vastness of being. Imagine a lamp in the darkness. It does not move, it does not follow anyone, it simply shines. It does not tell others where to go, but its light shows the way. The lamp is alone, yet through its light, it becomes the companion of many. So it is with the one who has learned to walk alone. Your silence, your peace, your joy, they begin to touch others without your trying. You become a light unto yourself, and in that light, others find courage to discover their own. This is the ultimate gift you can offer the world, not advice, not influence, but presence. When you reach this understanding, every step you take becomes sacred. You are no longer moving through life as a seeker. You are moving as a blessing. The earth beneath your feet is grateful. The air around you dances. The universe smiles, because finally, one of its children has remembered the truth that separation was only a dream. You are not apart from life, you are life itself. And when you reach this point when you can walk alone and still feel connected to all, you have found the real meaning of love, freedom, and God. So remember, to walk alone is not to turn your back on the world. It is to finally face it without fear. It is to live among people yet not be lost in their noise. To love them without becoming dependent. To share with them without forgetting your own source. Walking alone is not rebellion, it is awakening. It is the point where dependence transforms into freedom, where loneliness turns into meditation, where silence becomes song, and where love becomes limitless. You have spent your whole life trying to belong, trying to fit into patterns that were never designed for your soul. You have worn masks to please others, spoken words that did not rise from your heart, and followed roads that led you further from yourself. But the time has come to stop running. The time has come to stand still, to look within, and to listen. Because in that stillness, in that listening, a different kind of strength begins to grow. Not the strength that conquers, but the strength that surrenders. You have been taught that to be alone is to be weak, to be vulnerable, to be lost. But I tell you, to be alone is to be powerful, because it is in aloneness that you meet your true self, the one who has never been touched by fear, by doubt, by expectation, the one who has been watching quietly behind every experience, behind every desire, behind every disappointment. When you finally return to this self, you realize you were never broken, never incomplete, never in need of repair. The world told you that you needed saving, but how can the sky be saved from the wind or the ocean from its waves? You are that sky, that ocean, vast, unbroken, eternal. The courage to walk alone is the courage to remember who you are beneath all the noise of the world. It is the courage to sit in silence and discover that silence is alive. It is the courage to look into your emptiness and see that it is not a void but a womb, the birthplace of all creation. The one who learns to walk alone learns to walk with existence itself. Then every tree, every stone, every face becomes a mirror. You no longer ask, who will walk with me? Because you realize you are walking with everything. The earth beneath your feet becomes your companion. The breeze becomes your song. The stars become your witnesses. This is what it means to be truly alive, to belong to all and to none. So let this understanding sink deep into your being. Walking alone is not the end of love. It is the beginning of real love. Only the one who is whole within can share without fear. Only the one who has met themselves in silence can meet another without illusion. All others are merely trading needs, playing games, seeking reflections of their own emptiness. But you, when you are full, when you are overflowing with your own light, you become a blessing to others. You love without demanding, you give without expecting, and you remain free even in closeness. Such love is no longer a relationship, it is your fragrance, your essence, your prayer. Sit with this truth for a moment. Close your eyes and breathe. Let go of all that you think you must become, all that you think you must prove, all that you think you must have. Let the world spin on without you for a while. In that pause, feel how the air moves through you, how the silence surrounds you, how life continues effortlessly. That is the secret. Existence needs nothing from you, yet it gives you everything. You were never meant to earn peace. You were only meant to remember it. So walk a few steps today without seeking anyone's approval. Sit for a while without company, without noise, without distraction, and listen. In that listening, in that quiet space that opens between thoughts, you will find the one companion who has never left you, your own consciousness. Stay with it. Breathe with it. Let it lead you. And you will see that the path you were searching for was never in the world. It was inside you all along.